I sort of look back and I wonder if I did stay at that particular day school, would I have been happier? And I don't think I necessarily would have been happier. I think that my experiences would have been very different.
I grew up with a mom who was like, if you're bad, I'm going to send you away to boarding school. So it was very much a threat growing up. So I didn't even know that there were good boarding schools. And I went to public school until 6th grade, and then I ended up going to a private day school in Long Island for 6th through 8th grade. And everyone in 8th grade was applying for boarding schools, and I was really confused. But then I learned more about it. My mom was very open to the idea, so she decided to come with me and visit a few different schools. And I just applied to all the ones I visited, and Kent gave me a lot of really great financial aid, and I liked it, and we were kind of just winging it. She was like, try it if you like it. If not, you come home. It doesn't really matter. It's completely up to you. So there was not a lot of pressure at all. It was just kind of a trial.
Our dad and his brother went when they were much younger, so our dad is a little bit older, so he was class of 60 at Kent. So starting way back when, they went and had sort of a transformational experience and had kind of decided later in life that they wanted their kids to have something similar. Our whole side of our family, our dad's side, went, ending up being 8 of us. So we kind of knew growing up, okay, you can go wherever you want as long as it's Kent. And we didn't even look at any of the schools. I didn't really think about the difference between boarding school versus high school at home. I just knew I was going, and I was excited to go always because of, my brothers were there already, and it was sort of oh, great, we visited Kent. Oh, great, we get to go to Kent. How great.
But my parents, especially my mom, really want me to study in U.S. to begin with, and she want me to go boarding school. So that was she trying to encourage me to study abroad, just encourage me in general to be in an environment like boarding school and be independent.
And my parents really wanted me to explore, looking to doing 2 years, because at that point they didn't want me going away any earlier than after my junior year.
Exeter Academy had come and given a speech to, because our grade was only up to 8th, our school was only up to 8th grade, so he came and they tried to recruit people because there's no high school. So I actually had no idea about boarding school until that moment. So I brought it up to my parents, and my parents were like, are you kidding me? No way. Because since she was you don't send your kids off to boarding school unless it's a must. Especially not girls. But once I got accepted and they started giving back scholarship and stuff, my parents were well, we can't say no now. I was I know.
I came through Prep 9, and that's basically what introduced me to boarding school. Before that, I had not a clue as to where I wanted to go to high school. Nevertheless, come to a boarding school in Connecticut, being from New York. When why I chose Taft was I just stepped on campus and just felt like it was a place for me.
My mother actually always wanted me to go to Choate. Both my parents wanted me to go boarding, and Choate, considering I lived very close, was not okay with that. So I looked at other schools. I went to Cheshire Academy just because I didn't have anywhere else to go, and then I found Kent, and I applied, and I got accepted, and the rest is history, I guess.
My favorite part about Loomis was living at school and being part of a community, because I had always moved around as a kid, maybe spent 2 to 3 years max at a place. I've lived in Texas, New York, LA, Stanford, back all over. But so it was nice having that stability and knowing that this is where I would be for the next 3 years, because I entered as a new sophomore. So that was great.
Acapella last year we went to New York to do a competition there. So it was in the beginning of the year, there was about 8 of us. It grew about 15 at the end of the year. Half was boys actually, which was great. So we went to New York and we ended up getting 2nd place. And what I thought was hilarious, this was the first year there was actually a teacher for acapella. We're going there, she's guys, we've tried our hardest, we're just here to have the experience. And we're okay, whatever, we know. So we get in there, we sing, we do everything, and then we come back for the ceremony, and they're calling out who's who, and we're kind of just sitting there looking around, we're not paying attention. and then they end up being like, oh yeah, third place is this. Oh, Kent School got second. And it's just like quiet. And we're like, wait, what? We're like, oh, and then it's like, for a second, we had to like pause. We're like, wait, are you serious right now? Like, so that was pretty cool. And then we ended up going on, they split us into boats, like on schools, like a couple schools in each boat for until like 11 and like had fun on there. So I thought that was awesome.
My first roommate was Julie Bengis. She was an all-star athlete, tri-varsity, her sophomore year, which was the year I started. And I mean, she was straight A's, always studying in the room, and we had a really nice room too.
So my freshman year wasn't really the ideal roommate situation, coming in, not having a lot in common. Didn't really get along with them, that classic coming to boarding school, kind of, having roommate troubles, having some type of flaw that's setting you back. This year I'm a monitor in the lower school dorms as well, so same floor I've lived on, HDT4 for 3 years. And I have a single this year, which I'm loving, by the way, so it's just a really different kind of change,
My first roommate was from Alaska, so that was a bit of a culture shock in a way, and I was able to, it was really different, but in a way I learned a lot from him, and we became pretty good friends. And now this year I have a roommate who lives 5 minutes away from me where I'm from, so I didn't really go outside the box, but I had enough experience from Yvonne from Alaska, so it was a little different.
My roommate here sucked. I punched my friend in the face and my roommate reported it.
I was one of the only freshmen to make the team. And I walked into my dorm where there were seniors living there, and the 2 field hockey captains were roommates in my dorm. And I got in the shower, and it was like a group shower, and they came in, and they were like, who is that? I was like, Mimi. They were like, oh, hey. And they ripped down the shower curtains. And I was like, oh my God, hi. Like, I'm 14 years old and I'm naked. And they're like, we don't use shower curtains here.
My second year was the complicated year when I was a junior. I had a roommate who was going to be a senior, or it was her senior year then, but she got kicked out the first night for drinking. So after 4 hours, I had a single.
The first week that we got to Kent, since we'd been used to making friends together, we were there early for preseason for field hockey, which we didn't end up playing, but we went around to everyone's room in dining hall dorm, which no longer exists, and we went together. Hi, I'm Lindsey, and this is Lauren, my sister. Like, hi, I'm Lindsey and Lauren, and we went to, I think, every single dorm together, which is, reflecting on it, really nerdy, but kind of cute.
Yeah.
When I'm sleeping and she's studying, makes me really uncomfortable that I had to study. So like, it made me really like unstable mentally that I couldn't fall asleep, that I feel so pressured to study. So that wasn't a great year, even though my grade was pretty high because I study a lot, but then like, it was pretty difficult for me to live with her. But third year, that girl from Taiwan, she was like a year younger, so I had less stress. We hang out, we have a lot of mutual friends, so it was really nice. Like, so I guess I choose like someone not in my grade, not taking same class, so I feel more relaxed to that.
So my freshman year, in the first half of the year, I had one roommate who was a really, really awful roommate. Like, he was going through a lot of personal things and different personality issues, and it kind of all boiled over, and I had to get a second roommate because it was just got to the point where nobody could deal with it.
My mom actually had to change her landline phone plan because I was calling her so much.
We weren't the best friends, but we were like great roommates. Like, we never like had any issues. And then I made the decision to switch to one of my friends, Andrew Perry, because he needed a roommate. Worst decision of my life. He was the biggest slob, horrible. I just wanted like out of that room. The grossest person ever. I feel so bad saying that, but it's true.
Then the first day I came here and she was that little pretty blonde girl dressed exactly like me and all super energetic, and it turned out we both had like the same birthday, so the same day, same year, everything. So we just got along very well, and then she's basically my best friend here because she's practically like, we always say like the brunette needs her blonde friend, right? And that's exactly it. We're always together. We call our room the penthouse, sarcastically, because it's really, really small, but we make it feel like home a bit. And it's like filled with clothes and shoes, and somehow we find our books through it.
I've always had some of the best roommate pairs. My freshman year, my roommate and I had nothing in common, actually, besides stuff that were like biological or things out of our control. She and I had the same birthday. She was a couple hours older than me. And both of our moms went to the same grad school. And just little weird stuff that we ended up finding out about each other, which are stuff that you wouldn't normally talk about with people, we found out we had in common. But besides that, we had nothing in common, but we had the best relationship.
So I picked up a lot from my first year roommate, Monica.
It was definitely a very different experience. We were very different. She was still learning the language and the culture. So it was really cool for me to be able to help her learn about the American culture, and it was cool for me to be able to learn about her culture. But it was definitely hard that we weren't able to relate on some things.
I would ask her stupid questions, like things that are so basic, but she didn't, no hint of judging or laughing at me at all. She really sat down and explained to me a lot of things.
And so being that I've never lived with anyone before those two people, I realized that I kind of try to adjust to other people's living spaces. So I'm neither clean freak nor am I very messy. I just kind of do a little bit of both.
You stop caring about personal things that before would probably bother you, like nudity, sharing clothes, all that just goes out the window after you have to share a shoebox with someone else. And then we take in a speakers and we blast night music really loud after 11 p.m. and then put paper towels on the drain so they wouldn't so they'd keep the water in. And then we'd break dance on the shower floor that was covered in soap, and that was one of my fondest memories.
We never went to sleepaway camp or anything like that. We were just used to sharing with each other and sharing space. So it was a natural transition. And having roommates actually was one of the best parts because it allowed us to have our own friend group and we all stuck together.
I feel like we weren't really that close from the beginning, but especially after we weren't roommates, we became really good friends.
So I think I really had a rich roommate experience starting from my first year at Kent.
The other thing that I really did was the teachers, on the other hand, because they actually care about you, you get to know them.
But they're not only your professors, they're your I'm going to say use the word peers, because that's what they are. So I saw them in the classroom, I saw him on the lacrosse field, but then I'd go see him in the dining hall eating with his family. And his son was actually one of my best friends. Being that close to your professors, especially in high school, I think is by far the best thing about prep school.
Normally, if I was at day school, between spring term, I'd be like, okay, now I'm comfortable with them. Here, it's 2 weeks and you're like, okay, you're family, I can go ask you anything. You know what I mean? A lot of students, especially me, I'm very nervous to put my hand up in class or say everyone else is yeah, I got it. And I'm I don't know what the heck's happening. Here, I'm totally all right, I don't know. Because I know the teacher, I know I'm so comfortable with everyone around me that it's not a problem.
It's nice to see that, other people than only your family can be so nice and so close to you in some way. My advisor is the best man I've ever, out of my family I've ever met, Mr. Cloutier. He just is lovely, and his wife also. They take care of us so well. And this week they brought us crepes to a room with chocolate fudge.
If you can meet with your teacher after dinner, because you sleep on campus, that's another 4 hours to get to know and build a relationship and a bond with your teachers. And I loved that. I left on bad terms. I got kicked out of boarding school, but my advisor and I go hiking all the time. He was also my English teacher, and his wife taught me English the next year, and I'd go over and have dinner with them.
I think junior year I was in her pre-cal class, and she had gotten sick one day. And no, she didn't get sick. She broke her elbow because she was skiing over headmaster's weekend. So my friend and I got her neighbor to bring us home, and we made her chicken noodle soup and brought it to her. And I think that is really, I got to know my professors and I could really connect with them on a personal level, which was great.
I just have to say that there's always the common misconception that boarding school isn't, a great place for people, because it tears you away from your parents, and it can kind of seem as cruel and too strict. It's really not like that at all. It's the complete opposite. I've had more fun here than I ever think I will have, to be honest, and it's just something that I know I wouldn't have gotten at a public school. So I owe it all to Taft, really. It's really an amazing place.
It was like home, but I felt like a guest the entire time.
It's certainly not for everyone. There are many cases where I've seen that people just can't deal with the pressure of being alone and having to be their basically own master for a couple of years in high school.
They're all different kinds of boarding schools. I know one thing that might have made Loomis feel more like home was the fact that we were a 60% boarding, 40% day campus, so it was a lot of commuting from home students. I feel like it might have been a different experience if everybody was living on campus, or if the majority of students weren't living on campus. It would be a very different kind of feeling, so knowing what kind of school you want is good.
If I went to boarding school for 4 years, from freshman through senior year, it would have helped out a lot academically because of the smaller setting. It was hard because everyone knew everything about you, even if you didn't really mention anything.
Everyone always says you really grow up in college, which I 100% agree on, but you really grow up when you're forced to do that environment and in high school and deal with the catty people, the mean girls drama, all of that. When you're living with these people, you learn to either get some tough skin and learn to govern through that and ride the emotional roller coaster of high school. And I thought that was a really great experience.
It really set a good foundation for me with budgeting time and budgeting money and maintaining relationships with friends, and because you're living with everyone, roommates, and it definitely helped with my social and emotional and academic growth.
Well, the biggest difference I think for going away earlier is you just learn to be more independent, and it makes you kind of think about who you are and who you want to be, and what you want to represent.
It goes back to the Kent motto. I mean, it's simplicity of life and what that brings to you, and how as a young adult, as a teenager, I'm not even an adult at this point. When you strip it down to the relationships, the academics, sports, and just you really enjoy those sorts of things. You don't really have any extra clutter.
I definitely chose a school that I loved. I'm not just saying that too. I actually came on this campus and I was like, all right, this is my school. And my parents were like, okay, well, we'll keep the other schools. I'm like, no, to me, they're not there anymore. I'm like, it's just here. No, I love it. It's great.
I think it was the best choice I've ever made. But I'm only 21, so I don't know how many more choices I will make, and I'll need to compare it to those. I'm telling my parents that they should send my brother to boarding school right now. They're considering it.
As stubborn as I was in the beginning of it and all, I made the right choice of going to Porter's.
Definitely. It's the best decision I ever made.
I firmly believe that it was the right choice because there's no way I would have gotten into a school like Lafayette without going to Hotchkiss first.
People should just realize that people don't go to boarding school for doing something bad. Our parents still love us. They want us to succeed, so they create opportunities.
I wouldn't change it for nothing. It's really a chance we have to come here, I think.
It's invaluable. It's been the greatest experience of my life so far.
Looking back, I don't really have any regrets for it. I think it was the best way to do it. I definitely lost a bunch of friends at home because of it. You'd have people who'd be like, oh, what did he do? He must have did something really bad. He got sent away. And you're like, well, that's not how it works.
I think I would have been happier if I hadn't gone to boarding school. But I think I'm more prepared because of what happened and because I went to boarding school. So it's a trade-off. I love college, and I'm still here at college, I think, because I went to boarding school, and I know like that there are, you know, certain rules have to be followed. And if you don't set rules for yourself, you're dead meat.
Like I was on crutches for such a long time, and then I am walking across the boardwalk, and then because I'm finally off my crutches. I still have the brace, but I'm off my crutches. There's black ice in the sandbox, and I trip again, but this time this was in between classes, so literally the entire school saw this happen. And there was this football player walking behind me. I'd never spoken to him before, but like I knew who he was. But he went up to me and he picked me up and carried me all the way to the infirmary from the sandbox. And that was one of the moments here that I was like, wow, we have such a great sense of community, because even if like everyone has their own group of friends, everyone has their own like interests, so obviously it's really natural and it's okay for people to have their own groups, there's still that underlying sense of community if someone's willing to like stop like their day and carry someone to the infirmary. Obviously not everyone has the physical capabilities to do that, but like to have like the thought of stopping and doing that was pretty touching for me.